think you need it. But if you're going to feel better, do it. And it's been wonderful. I'm really thrilled with it.
When you look
to suddenly receive a telephone call and say that your whole lifestyle is going to be changed. The brutality of the death, it's never an easy one.
Cal Hayworth is a man who speaks from the heart and from experience. A drunk driver claimed the life of his son-in-law, leaving behind his daughter and her 3 girls to mourn a senseless death. State Trooper Mark Baker is another who's seen the effects of the lethal combination of drinking and driving.
Almost everyone you go to affects you some way. I worked in a small community where we ran across people you knew that were involved in fatal accidents, and the only reason the accident had occurred was alcohol.
Bringing an end to drunk and drug driving is the thrust behind the State Patrol's saturation program, an alternative to the traditional sobriety checkpoints currently being reviewed by the state Supreme Court.
We take troopers that aren't normally scheduled on duty, put them on an overtime basis, and they work a particular area. And they saturate, and particularly looking for people that are impaired by alcohol.
2700, I believe, are on one of the coaches.
Officials say part of this year's campaign will focus on educating people on the cost of a DWI. It may be more than you think. Towing, attorney fees, spending a night in jail. Damage to your vehicle, along with other costs, can total up to $15,000. But the highest cost of all, the toll of human life.
For me to describe the grief that a person experiences is very difficult. I don't know how to describe it. It is so devastating.
In Duluth, Stephanie Guardian, News 6.
We feel there are some kids that this is maybe the only gift that they get at Christmas time. We do have families like that. And we feel that everybody needs to have a Christmas dinner and all the kids need to have a Christmas toy, at least one.
Why don't you stand right here by the door? Okay. We do the wrapping today and the bagging of the food tomorrow. We do the bathroom bagging of food. And then Thursday they come and get it.
Okay. The Retired Senior Volunteer Program has been doing Santa's Hotline for the past 10 years, and Park Point Manor had been doing it for the past 2 years. And we decided that it would just be a lot easier on Santa and Mrs. Santa if we worked together and had one hotline during 1 week of the year. And that's been working out really well.
We started doing it in 1979, the first year we were married, and it's kind of mushroomed and snowballed ever since. I would do it because I think I'm one of the biggest kids there ever lived.
Christmas is really for the kids, so there's wouldn't be any real reason to do it if it wasn't for the joy that the kids would get out of it.
There's a difference between being childish and childlike, and I think there's all a little bit of a child in all of us. So I think no matter if you're 80 or 8, it'll bring it out.
Steelworkers song, and I would really like to get everyone to listen to this.
They came up with the idea of sending out letters to all the individual members in Michigan and Minnesota, and also to all the local steel mills and all the steel unions here on the range and in Michigan.
Well, we sent our driver down with a letterhead requesting turkeys for giveaway here at Christmas. And when they got down there, the turkeys were gone already. They said someone had picked them up with a pickup, and they had one of our Union Gospel Missions cards.
The rest of it is 400,000 of the 700,000 that we will be paying in sales tax next year. Because a year ago, the legislature passed legislation which requires local units of government to pay sales tax.
She was worried that she was trying to break it off, and he didn't want to break it off, and he had made threats toward her before, and so she was definitely worried.
I don't care what they say. I'll give you a picture, because I just assumed his name was plastered and his picture was plastered.
Or cameras or anything like that. We'd like to get this guy, on camera and to show him in the story.
I don't know anything about that, but did they tell you what time the arraignment is? Or?
It's actually grabbing one of these pictures and putting it on disk. Interstate 35.
We send out manual observers when the visibility drops down below 500 meters to look at the targets we have there, because the true sense of a sensor is how does it compare to the human eye, because that's the driver, how he perceives the fog, the visibility.
Just that I'm going to start exercising this year and make sure that I do get in better shape.
Well, I guess mine is to be a better businessman, maybe, help my customer a little more.
Yeah,
well, I make them.
You don't keep them.
Yeah, you make them and you don't keep them. I just want my family to be happy and healthy.
Save some money, I guess, for the future, yeah. And try to stay out of trouble. Be good to my family. That's about it.
I was going to stop biting my fingernails, and that was about it.
We don't have our typical roadside checkpoints going on, but they do have additional people similar to a saturation area where they actually look for some sort of probable cause to stop vehicles, and and try to locate the people that are impaired by alcohol or other drugs.
We beef up our patrols down in the bar areas and through the major thoroughfares through the city. Avoid the drunk drivers or get the drunk drivers before they hurt someone.
You've got to anticipate what other drivers are doing, allow yourself extra room, drive at a reasonable speed to prevent accidents. You know, all this will come into play. Don't drive when you've been drinking, and make sure that the first thing you do, whether you're a passenger or a driver, is you buckle your seatbelt when you get in the car.
Do you have a New Year's resolution?
To try to quit smoking. To save more money.
Quit smoking. Quit smoking?
Mhm.
And how long has it been since you had a smoke?
Well, I'm gonna smoke the weekend, but starting Monday officially.
Oh, I have a few New Year's resolutions.
What's your New Year's resolution?
Clean your room. Oh, budgeting, giving up cigarettes, weight loss, many.
I made a New Year's resolution not to have a resolution.
So you're off the hook.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Sure.
At this time, we're conducting an article search to see if there's any evidence that we might have missed on the first investigation. We're going into the shoulder area and the road surface with both metal detectors and rakes to determine if we can find any evidence.
This rate reduction is only possible because of the efficiencies realized in this new system. And we're passing these savings right back to the consumer.
The fate of these jobs is in our hands. It's in your hands and it's in our hands to make this work.
As Vice President of Ore Operations for Ogilvie Norton, John Sellis's introductory remarks to a panel of state legislators and industry officials set the stage for the seriousness of today's talks. As one of Eveleth's owners, Ogilvie Norton is now on the record requesting state money to save the 535 jobs at Eveleth Mines. At the IRRB offices today, Eveleth Mines officials reviewed recent improvements to the operation that have resulted in cost reductions of nearly $6 a ton.
There were permanent layoffs at Eveleth Mine, both hourly and salary employees. And basically, one of the things we did was we asked all our employees to do more, and they've done that.
But more cuts are needed to make Eveleth competitive with other Iron Range companies, perhaps another $6 a ton. Officials with the Steelworkers Union told legislators today they're close to a settlement on a new contract, a necessary ingredient before the state will consider any funding package to improve overall operations at the plant. Legislators say they'll study today's proposal and would do all within their power to secure the future of the plant. In Eveleth, Duke Skorich, News 6.
Just as a brief bit of review, and most of you are
We have a meeting set for tomorrow afternoon or tomorrow evening with our crisis team, and they will make the decision as to whether or not to file the intent to strike.
The union, or the MEA in this.
make that decision is representative of our entire faculty. So I believe they're prepared. It's a very serious matter. We do not take it lightly.
UMD is the proving ground that income-dependent direct lending does work, and that it's much more efficient. It's going to save the taxpayers billions.
Pretty good overall. You did a good job. It was kind of neat seeing some of the places that you recognize throughout the area and stuff.
Well, it was a little different because I saw some parts in it and I thought I recognized the places. And I thought it was a really good movie.
Great flick. I advise you to come and see it. Well worth your time and money. Excellent family movie.
Very
Great
good.
adventure.
It was
really.
awesome. We loved it.
I've personally seen the harassment that's been going on at the school. There's a lot of harassment, both verbal and some that's gotten to be physical towards the students that are homosexual at the school. And I think that Respect Day was by far the best way to approach it, solve it. It's completely voluntary, so as if anyone feels against it, they are not required to attend the meeting.
Which immediately would make me an enemy to my own country because I should be for that war.
Close. Is from originally from Pula, Croatia.
I think the international community should really put much harder pressure on politicians, but not by saying we are going to intervene. Whether we intervene or not, that doesn't solve a problem. All three parties should be treated the same way, basically because people are the same. I have to tell immediately my address, etc., but it is quite a complicated matter, so I will try to bring a little bit of history, a little bit of present, and
On by, Tuffy!
Yay!
Good job. Oh. 146. That's all right. No, I'm going to hang in here. Last one to come through. Why not? Oh, that's good. No, that's good.
I don't want to see medicine become monopoly. I don't want to see a few large firms essentially owning and controlling medicine to the point where the doctors don't get to make their own independent decisions, to the point where consumers don't have much choice.
This contract is bad for the citizens of Duluth, I feel, because it will allow the DEC to operate a concession wagon in direct competition with churches, youth groups, and community service organizations that rely on sales at Bayfront Park for their program funds.
This sets it in motion for a past mayor and any future mayors that their portraits would be.
Okay, thank you.
Here's my coat.
Part of it goes on our economy, and we've a pendulum, you know that, and it swings. Look at the network stuff, you know, that kind of stuff. The increase in our tolerance for violence, the increase in our tolerance for deviancy. All of those kinds of things create a change in our family structure.
That it's me guys, you know, the 60s guys.
Yeah.
You know?
They were hoods, but they were home on time for supper. You know, it's just kind of, yeah.
So,
but so there's a difference. There really is a difference. So it's an evolution.
Yeah. But, you know, I mean, how do you break the...
Constructed out of 300 tons of steel and standing 80 stories high, Copper Peak, for those who haven't seen it, is a sight to behold. And if you come out this weekend, you'll not only see the facility, but some of the top ski flyers in the world.
It's just so spectacular, but when they come off this slide here, they're going at about 95 to 100 kilometers per hour.
Volunteers were busy today putting on the final touches for this weekend's ski flying. Ski flying is exactly the same as ski jumping that you see at the Olympics, with a few differences.
Ski flying is simply a larger ski jump. The distances are much greater, and the speeds are a little bit higher. The skiers are a little bit more nervous. It's a little bit more of a challenge for us, that's for sure.
Jim Holland is a member of the United States jumping team. He's hoping to be in Lillehammer, Norway for the 1994 Winter Olympics. A top 15 finish from Jim or any of the U.S. jumpers this weekend will guarantee them a trip to the Games. The last event held at Copper Peak was in 1989, where jumpers were literally flying for more than 500 feet. In the Olympics next month, you'll see ski jumping from 130 meters. This jump here, 160 meters. And it does make a difference.
And there's more pressure, and more pressure in the air. And the speed is a little bit higher, and it's just a better feeling. Before I jumped the first time here, I think all the jumpers are a little bit scared, a little bit.
All around the world, people are telling us we're crazy, and try not to believe them, I guess.
Believe them. In Ironwood, Michigan, Ted Rowlands, News 6. Travis is a future college student.
Linda, an emergency medical technician, and Paul, a recent college grad. Together, they constitute the first group of Northland Red Cross volunteers going to Los Angeles. All three worked the floods down south in Des Moines. Today, they're anxious to help L.A.
I know if I was in trouble, people would come out and help me, and that's what I like, and so I'm going to lend a hand and help out as much as I can.
People come to us asking for help, shelter, food, clothing, and then our job is to meet their needs.
Social service type of work and civil service type of work seems to be a very natural fit for what I'm trained in already.
23-year-old Paul Skirbick is well-versed at psychology. He and his two co-volunteers are trained as family service technicians. Last week's quake left 20,000 Los Angelenos homeless. The 6.6 killer shake is now responsible for 55 deaths.
I can have a mental picture in my head of like buildings collapse with freeways, but I'm sure when I get there it'll be a whole lot different.
When I was down in Des Moines, when the flooding was down there in August, was down there for 2 weeks. That was my very first experience of being away from home.
I haven't been through an earthquake, but I was born and raised on the Iron Range, and they blast just about every day. And so I know what it's like to have a little bit of the earth move under my feet.
I hope I never feel one. If I feel one, I want to go home. But it'd be a neat experience. So.
It makes me a little nervous. Makes me a lot nervous. But it's a job that I said I would do, and I'm going out to do it.
Friends and families watch as Linda Pfeiffer, Paul Skirbick, and Travis Bushy headed out to do that job they love to do. The Red Cross says they'll spend over $10 million donated dollars in helping the quake victims. The three Northland volunteers will be joining hundreds of disaster experts already at work in Los Angeles. They'll stay 3 weeks. Their experiences promise to last a lifetime. Reporting from the airport, Chip Wallace, News 6.
It would be really important for us to try to work out some sort of a package through the legislature to help fund that expansion at UMD.
Look at the signatures that have come in this, been signed here. Look how many people want to be involved in this. And the city council can either say, well, maybe we should change our way of doing this, and they will have to repeal this ordinance that they passed on December 13th, or they will have to send this ordinance to the voters and let all the people of Duluth vote yes or no if they want to create another special assessment district. Number one, if I can keep them all in order here.
If the people lead, the leaders will follow. And I think there's a lot of credit to that. And I gotta say, I'm really swelling with pride about all these people here and all the people in Duluth that are getting behind the issue. And however you feel on this issue, I just think it's important that we get this out in the openness of public light.
The court is now in session. Oh, okay. And donate to the American Cancer Society.
We've got some people in here right now from Minnesota Power and a few other local businesses doing some telephone calling. We'd appreciate any help from anyone who'd like to come in here and call. We've got food and beverages for you while you're in here. You'll see the judge up in the front of the room. She'll give you a sentence, and then your bail will be set, and you'll do a bunch of phone calls.
Well, what do I do? What do I have to do now? Yeah, really, why don't we set this up a little bit? Thank you. You can put it on the wall right there like that.
June 30th, 1992, 2 miles south of Superior, and a freight train derails. The train is carrying benzene, a cleaning chemical that can be deadly if ingested in large dosages. Over 100 people were treated for exposure.
I've had some respiratory problems, but Harry, my husband, ended up in the hospital with pneumonia.
Louise and Harry Swanson live next to the red zone, and they claim Harry's fight with pneumonia is attributable to the spill. They're here to meet one-on-one with medical officials brought in by the Agency for Toxic Substances and Disease Registry. Did you ever have problems with your lungs before the spill?
No.
What kind of problems have you had since?
Well, like I say, it's just continual coughing and spitting and short of breath.
Who did you bring in for these people to talk to?
We have 4 physicians from Atlanta. These are all physicians with a specialty in environmental health, so they have a background in looking at the human health effects of being exposed to a hazardous substance. We also have toxicologists and environmental health specialists here.
Most of the class action suits brought against Burlington Northern Railroad have been settled. The lawsuits range from $140,000 to $20,000. There's also a $500,000 health fund established to cover future health problems. This is the first of 2 meetings arranged by Congressman Obey with the ATSDR. The second meeting is tomorrow at the Indian Head Technical College Conference Center. It too will run from 4 to 8 p.m. From the town of Superior, Chip Wallace, News 6.
We recommend that motorists, if they happen upon a snowplow, to follow a snowplow, that they go ahead and pass the snowplow only when the entire vehicle comes into view. That they definitely do not pass into that cloud of snow. The motto that we use for our public service announcements, which your station, along with TV stations all over the state play, is "Don't crowd the cloud," and we mean that. Stay out of there. Let those snow remove.
The stakes are too high to get into turf struggles or to be concerned about who takes credit for what project. I personally believe, and I know the Port Authority feels, that united we stand, divided we may tend to stagger.
The Mackinac has been plowing its way through tons of ice to free vessels for 50 years, but now the Coast Guard Command wants to decommission the aging vessel.
Every year since 1988, the Mackinac has been on the chopping block.
But this time, Twin Port officials say it doesn't look good for saving the ship. Come spring, Lake Superior's mighty currents will move the thawing ice around, possibly shifting it to the head of the lakes as it did in the spring of 1991. That year, several ships got stuck as they tried to make it into the Twin Ports. The Mackinac was finally able to free them, but as crew members told us via ship-to-shore communication, not without considerable effort.
I've been on the boat 3.5 years now. This is the first time I've seen ice that we absolutely could not go through.
Experts are fighting to keep the Mackinac in service, but fear they're fighting a losing battle. Future winters like this one could spell disaster. In Duluth, John Jetta, News 6.
Children, come a-running, see the star. Come a-running like the shepherds coming from afar. Children, come a-running, see the boy. Come a-running, come a-dancing, come and shout for joy, shout for joy. As it scans, they were dancing on the stage, with their hearts holy, 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 holy. As it scans, for the king, now the lady, able not to dance.
Yes, I think the overall picture still remains the same. We feel that we have really nothing to offer in dollar and cents other than $5.5 million or $5.7 million of debt. And until they're willing to accept that the financial condition does not warrant offering new dollars on the schedule, we're basically at an impasse.
Not everyone's meals at home are this exciting. That's why a night on the town holds an enticing lure. But if you're counting calories and fat grams, dining out often can add up to extra pounds. Today, restaurant patrons are looking for more than just taste from their food.
And low-cal, high mineral, high protein, and I think
that's a tall order, but an order restaurants are getting more often. The health trend is forcing changes not only in menus, but in cooking philosophies.
I think that we have an emphasis on our menu that says that people can eat here every day and get a balanced diet and good nutrition, but you won't find the word light or reduced calorie anywhere on our menu. We don't.
Breaking away from the old meat and potato tradition is not easy for everyone, but restaurant owners are working to broaden our horizons.
So I think if you keep offering new and exciting things with the attitude that it can be lighter, it can be fresher, you know, people will enjoy it more.
There are things we can do to keep our dining experiences healthy. Take a good look at the menu and the words describing the food. Look out for sautéed, scampi, deep, and pan-fried. They could spell trouble. Lighter fares will probably be described as baked, broiled, grilled, and boiled. Substitutions or specific cooking instructions are also possibilities.
Remember that the restaurant is in the business of serving you, and many people I think are shy about asking for substitutions or perhaps that a food be prepared differently.
It's all about communicating with your server. Let them know when you're looking for a healthy meal. But for those who rarely dine out,
if you're one of those people who eats 1 out of every 50 meals at home, then I would say go for it and eat whatever you want.
In Duluth, Stephanie Guadian, News 6.
We organized this as our biggest kickoff project for a lot of upcoming projects this spring, but this was our biggest one. And
But more importantly is the chance to help people, to solve problems, and to do the people's business. That really is Irv Anderson.
During a private conversation this morning, the state's new Speaker of the House talked a lot about the perception of the old Irv Anderson and the reality of the new leader with power second only to the governor. As he told a packed House chamber after being sworn in, the new Irv Anderson knows the public's business must be done in the open.
People of Minnesota demand that we work together to address the issues before us. They will be watching us closely. They will tolerate neither partisanship nor posturing, and they will know who is serving their interests and who is serving some other interest. Let us now begin the new session in a new atmosphere of openness.
In St. Paul, Duke Skorich, News 6. In St. Paul, Duke Skorich, News 6.
So the food will go to serve people and stay out of the landfills, and so it's kind of meets everybody's needs.
The food Gene Gornick is talking about is perishable food that isn't served but thrown away by local restaurants every day. Food that could be used to feed the hungry. Food that is currently building up in area landfills.
So we're only looking at that food which is fit for human consumption, and there's an awful lot of that. If it's even 1/10 of 1%, we're looking at thousands of pounds per year that could be removed from the waste and could be used to the benefit of all the folks here.
Already in place is an extensive perishable food rescue process in Duluth that collects bakery goods along with fruits and vegetables from local merchants. The Union Gospel Mission received a load of items from a local grocery store this morning.
Well, they come every day, pick up merchandise that is a day old that we feel would help the community and benefit some of the people that are less fortunate.
The Damiano Center receives deliveries of perishable foods 3 times a week, making a dramatic impact on the center's level of food, which is distributed every day to those who need it.
In 1993, we salvaged about $130,000 worth of foods.
And that's just from grocery stores and bakeries. A national program called Food Chain has been rescuing perishable food from restaurants for 5 years now. And if things go well, the program will be up and running in Duluth sometime before June of this year. In Duluth, Ted Rowlands, News 6. "25-year-old James Solem was killed last night after a load of rail track panels he was loading shifted and struck him. He was working at the Duluth Paneling Plant, a subsidiary of ABC Rail. The plant assembles and ships railroad paneling. Today, a former employee who asked not to be identified is questioning safety standards.
I'm sitting here thinking, gee, it could have been me. That's the way I feel. And I almost feel that had I made a bigger stink about it, a guy's life could have been saved. I do feel that.
The employee says he was fired after filing a complaint to the Occupational Safety and Health Administration. In fact, OSHA has received at least one complaint, which investigators say was taken care of promptly by the company. ABC Rail officials in Chicago said today they have an excellent safety record. Human Resources Director Joe Parsons admitted to Channel 6 News the West Duluth facility is a new startup plant, but he said, quote, if we were taking shortcuts, we were not aware of it. Parsons said company officials are distraught and have launched a full investigation. OSHA has also begun an investigation. In Duluth's West End, Ted Rowlands, News 6.
That's a possibility, but groups have gone before, and there's a lot of support in Washington and around the country for this kind of thing, because for Americans to reach out with humanitarian aid to the neighboring country, hungry people, needy people, it's not likely, in my view, that we'll have any trouble.
This is Cable, Wisconsin. Located in the northwest of America's Dairyland, Cable is a small family town with a population of, we're not sure, it's unincorporated. Cable is usually quiet and serene. But not this weekend. Thousands of Nordic racers invaded Cable to take part in the nation's largest cross-country ski race, the Birkebeiner. The Birkie, as the locals call it, is a world-class ski event attracting racers from around the world, from beginners to Olympic medalists, from ages 18 to 80. Some are old pros at the Birkie. For others, this is a new experience.
This is my first time. It's just a personal goal to try and see if I can make it.
The excitement for the challenge is something new. I've never done it before, and it's, I guess, something I look forward to. It's kind of a big challenge for me.
The race is patterned after the Birkebeiner Rennet, a cross-country event held in a small Norwegian town you may have heard of, Lillehammer. Today's race took these Nordic enthusiasts 36 miles south to Hayward. The experts make the trek in just over 2 hours. First to finish in 2 hours, 16 minutes, 52 seconds was Thomas Kaslovatsky from Czechoslovakia. With the help of a translator, the 24-year-old Czech told reporters it was a smooth race.
It was a normal race all the way to the finish. I trained for the Olympic Games.
Heike Wazell from Germany and Joanne Hanowski from Duluth finished first and third, respectively, in the women's division.
The track was very nice, very good for me, I think.
How about for you? Yeah, it was great. They did a great job, and after all the warm weather we had last week, it was nice to have some nice powder on there, although it was a little slow, but it was in good shape.
And so, Cable, Wisconsin returns to its former self, quiet, serene, and a little bit richer. An estimated $4 million is spent by the racers and race fans during the week. In Cable, Chip Wallace, News 6.
Some of the members have had surgery recently. Some are too ill to come to meetings. And it would seem to me that what we really need is a vital new board.
There is a majestic lure that is unique to the Northland. We are small, quiet, and tranquil. Many residents moved here because we have all of the trimmings of a larger cosmopolitan setting without its inherent problems. Problems such as pollution and traffic.
Unfortunately, this picture is not as pure and pristine as it once was. Crime and violence has invaded our Northland, and it is growing.
I think that things are escalating somewhat because society allows violence.
Angie is an advocate for the Women's Coalition. She counsels women who are victims of crime, specifically those abused emotionally and physically. She's been a counselor now for over 5 years and says business is on the rise.
I really think that it's happening more and more, and it's like people are not getting stiff enough penalties, and they're not afraid of the consequences. So
a recent study by the Minnesota Department of Safety suggests Angie is right. The report says violent crimes are up more than 11% from 1991 to 1992 statewide. On specific crimes, murders increased 15.5%, robberies saw a 12.4% rise, aggravated assaults increased by 0.6%, and rape jumped an astonishing 62%.
You can read in the paper anytime a person that robs a store or anything like that. I mean, the penalty is really, a lot bigger than it is for half killing your wife. If you do a crime against society, that should be one thing. If you do a crime against a human being, that should be another thing. It should be a lot stiffer. The penalty should be a lot stiffer. And it hasn't been that way.
The report also says that larceny was the largest category of serious crimes reported in 1992. Police and court officials were not available to respond to the report. In Duluth, Chip Wallace, News 6.
To make decent choices, base it on who you are, but to see yourself for who you are, make sure you share it instead of comparing.
Mark Scherenbrock of Minneapolis is a popular high school speaker. He is charismatic and entertaining, but more importantly, his message is simple and direct.
People who lack self-respect make some really stupid choices. The drugs and alcohol choices, the sexuality choices, things which can really hurt us.
The students laughed and clapped and listened, and what they learned could help them through some tough times.
I look at myself and I think of how I put myself down when I do certain things, and it helped boost me up for myself and help me to help my friends when they do that too.
Principal Diane Rauschenfeld knows high school can be a time of tough choices. She wants her students to be prepared to make the right choices.
I think that too often our students are looking at themselves and doing comparisons of, oh, I'm not a good enough hockey player, I'm not good enough to have made a cheerleader, I'm not making A grades or B grades. And to remind students that they are unique people.
The bottom line here is kids who have a sense of self-respect make healthy choices for the rest of their lives. At Hermantown High School, Barbara Riles, News 6.
Oh. So you had to commute for a while?
And physicians too, I should mention that.
How many beds does this facility?
I think a lot of it was an impetus that grew out of the Superior Days effort. That group had a chance to meet with Governor Thompson about a month ago. He was very interested in the plight of Superior Memorial and decided to support this Medicaid amendment.
Connected?
I don't think there's a connection there, no. The previous one at the Chinese Lantern, that was an accidental fire.
Okay.
And got into the grease duct and it just really got extensive in there.
Usually we've got dry vegetation. That's our big problem, is our grasses and our fine fuels that are our big problem in spring fire season for us. And that can light the lower limbs of our conifers, our pine and our spruce, and become crown fires too, if the wind is strong enough and it's dry enough.
Today is sort of a way of letting the people in the community see and know what's come in and how the Minnesota food share really does affect the community, and it does in a big way. The baskets are divided into 1 or 2 members in the family, 3 or 4, or up to 8. So there's a lot of people that are getting service by this.
Well, I am employed, but it's really hard. Like you said, stretching the dollars. I don't know what you do for one time, one weekend to the next.
He got in way over his head with a pretty darn rough crowd at this party.
And I mean, I've been so wound up about fishing.
Other than the public defenders.
No, none of the public. I'm a public defender too.
It's 6, which essentially just reads the complaint. My Dirty Harry story.
So this is likely going to be on 10 then?